Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're checking out a artifact portal deck for rotation. I haven't done portal rotation for a while. We've done a lot of Omen and stuff like that, but I thought why not give it a go. I've seen a lot of people going off with a deck very similar to this or identical to this in some cases, so I thought why not give that a go. Looks a lot of fun and honestly uses some of my more favorite cards like Ironforge Fighter even as a one-off, which is actually really good. A lot of people can be a little against it, but personally I'm a big fan. The Radiant Artifacts can always win you games, which you'll see pretty clearly because Maisha is very easy to counter these days. A lot of counters rely in decks, whether it's ward, healing, just straight up damage negation, and that is really damaging to a deck like this. So you really don't want to purely focus on the Maisha and rely more on just purely board flood and use Maisha as kind of a secondary win condition. At least that's how I like to play the deck, where I'll dominate my opponent mostly and then just use my Maisha to push a large chunk of damage where possible. So we're going to get right into this and check it out. So our first game here against Rune. Honestly, haven't had a lot of testing with this deck in particular since I've played a lot of other portal decks, so if I make a misplay here or there, that's my fault. It's very easy to misplay artifacts because there are just so many options of lines of play you can go for, or making the right decision for the right matchup, and just a lot of things you can learn over time. I have played a lot of Artifact when it first launched and that sort of thing, since Artifact when it launched was actually really awesome. Even if it wasn't the most powerful, in the right hands it always did well. So Hoverboard Mercenary getting us a good draw into another Hoverboard Mercenary. So we don't really have a lot going on here. Displacer bots, Hoverboard Mercenaries, not really doing us a lot of favors with this hand so far. The Radiant Artifact's okay, but it's really not what we need. And a Magna Giant, which I'm actually okay with. We did use one Magna Giant early just because I wanted to be able to mill our deck out just a little bit in the early game. And knowing that we have more of them for later against a Rune player, we should have been fine no matter what. We have Cut Gunner, which is actually okay, and this play is going to definitely bolster our hand a fair bit, being able to use the Displacer bot to get us the Excel and the Analyzing. So ideally, the best kind of plays you can make are usually using Excel and your artifacts, along with the other spell, I forgot what it is now off the top of my head, it'd probably come up, to go for crazy Maisha plays early on. That's definitely one of the easiest ways to win or do lots of damage, and that's typically something you do want, but they do require a bit of setup and you can't always be too careful. You don't want to hold on to artifacts just for the sake of holding on to them unless you know you've got that set up. And here it is, Augmented Bestow, that's the one I was thinking of, cheap spell. Makes it very easy for your artifacts to go off. And as you can see here, I've actually set up my Acceleradium perfectly so that its last turn will actually be on turn 7, where I can actually take full advantage of it for Maisha if I get that option. But with the rate our hand is going, that probably won't be it. I even went for the extra Displacer bot, so I had at least another one in hand. The Tetra Sapphire Rebel, a little bit of a problem for us. Not something I wanted to have to deal with in this way, but it looks like it's going to be something I have to get rid of. Luckily we have plenty of options as far as removal. And our Magna Giant will now be playable from now on, which is really cool. And I decided to go all in on this turn, which was probably the wrong choice, to be honest. I think we went a bit hard with this. Since we do want to free up at least a one hand spot here, and we don't want to go too crazy with it. And we finally got the Maisha, which a little too late right this second. But I mean, better late than never. At least we have it if we want to use it on turn 10, if we get that far. And of course, good removal from the Rune player, taking out everything fairly easily. Luckily, restocking is something this deck does wonderfully. So no matter what, we shouldn't have too much of an issue, even if we overdraw like we just did. I should have actually played... Oh, well, I couldn't play the Excel first and go for the 8, so I guess the 8 was the right play to begin with. And I can just kind of free up and get some follower destruction going, which is really all I need at this point. Since the Maisha play on turn 10 is pretty viable at this point. So Monica's Familiar coming down. Should be pretty expected coming up against this. Looks like it is a Ginger deck. Typically they're the ones that take the most advantage of Monica. Did end up being an immediate concede, which is a little interesting, but I mean, not too unpredictable at that point. Our last opponent was most likely predicting the Maisha play on turn 10, so didn't want to deal with dragging the match out. I can definitely understand where they're coming from if they thought they weren't going to have a chance with the cards in hand, but my motto is never to give up until I'm literally going to die. So you never concede when you have a chance of drawing something. But if you draw something and you're clearly going to lose next turn, conceding is usually fine. So this match, Portal on Portal matches, interesting enough. Magisteel Lion is not a bad play from us going first. It's always a good one to get out on turn 2. Where you can easily shove stuff into the deck and also, of course, generate whatever you want from this point. I did go for Lich, even though I'm not using it to heal. Mainly just wanted to force it out of our hand at this point, get some board presence, since we don't really have a lot going on turn 4 at this point, other than displace the bot play. So I thought I may as well go for that here instead, and just use the followers as some damage. The opponent Icarus. It's not great for us. I mean, it's basically a complete board wipe, which is not good. On the bright side, we do have some good options here. We've already got set up for the Maisha play on turn 7. We just need to get there, and they are. And even though I did spend this artifact, we've got Ultiplane Onslaught, which will be really good, especially since we drew Machagon Wielder to get us back out of Resonance, so Resonance will definitely be active next turn. And I couldn't have asked for a better target. Displace the Bot is the perfect card for me to use Ultiplane on, giving me 2 artifacts and something to remove. And Machagon's great too, since we've still got the Puppet left over, so we don't even have to waste our 1/1 here. Now we have more than enough to go for the Maisha play if we want it. And they're only at 16 health. So at this point, I don't think they've lost a lot. I don't think I'd lost as many followers as I would have liked, to be honest. I don't even really need to worry about what's on board either, which is good. So I went for the Maisha first. I did then play the Augments and go for an Analyzing. I should just evolve to Maisha though, because the one thing I was trying to be careful of was Overdraw. Playing double Augment, while good, will generate too many cards, and I need to have the Percussion's Blade in my hand before I start overdrawing. So you definitely got to be careful. You don't want to play or set the Maisha up last when you're doing a turn like this. You want to make sure you'll set it up first, in case you do end up getting 9 cards in hand, at which point you will just be burning whatever you're drawing, which can definitely be dangerous. So we were 2 damage off. I'm a little disappointed that that was the case. I definitely wanted to avoid being 2 damage off, but I mean, what can we do? At least it forces them to have to remove it with an Evo, so that's good. And now we have a chance. All we need now is Radiant Artifact, which we can actually shove in the deck, which is good. The odds of getting Radiant Artifact are not perfect, even though we did just get double Mystic, so that's a bit disappointing. Radiant would have just won us the game, actually, off that, so I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't reach it. So now all I can really do is just keep shoving things to the board and try and buy just a little bit of time, since we don't really need a lot to win this game. We just need 1 Radiant Artifact and we win. Which, fortunately, that top deck was golden. That's exactly what we wanted. So with the Radiant and the Puppet draw, even without it, we could have just went for something like Displace the Bot. Wins us the game pretty comfortably. So overall, I definitely had a lot of fun with this deck. There's a lot of nuancy type plays you can make with it, which is fairly interesting. A lot of people will say a lot of decks are brain dead or too easy or something, but I always found Artifact Portal, while it appears easy on the surface, and sometimes it definitely is, you basically just swarming the board over and over and over again, though you got to be careful of some plays. The Maesha plays in particular, if you aren't careful, it's very easy to misplay them. You can burn cards you shouldn't be burning, and sometimes in those situations it can end very poorly. But if you be a bit careful, you keep in mind that, of course, burning cards is typically bad. Not always, just typically bad. Then you should be okay. You could manage this deck fairly well and probably win quite a few games. It seems to be a nice up-and-coming deck and a very, very good answer to a lot of meta decks, since it does have a lot of power behind it as far as rushing all the other followers down, which is always a good thing to see. So if you guys did enjoy this video and you want to check this deck out, the deck list will be in the description below. Be sure to like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, guys, see ya.